Hey guys, this is OddOneGaming. This is going to be another Dragonheir SilentGods video. In today's video, we're going to talk about another one of the dungeons from Season 4, and that's going to be the Ancient Battlefield, right? So, we're going to have a look at what the boss does, what are the best teams, and I guess, what do I suggest for you to be able to farm it as easy as possible. And I guess, this is another one of my old series, the Ultimate Ancient Battlefield Guide, I guess. So what we're gonna look at today is I'm gonna show you the team that I'm using, but we're also gonna look at what the boss does itself, and then you know, what you can do, how you can manage it, what heroes should you bring in the team, what are the best timings, and all of that, right? Because most of the time the best way to actually deal with this is having the right timings, doing your skills at the right time, and so on, just by knowing what the boss itself does, right? If you know what the boss does, and if you can time the way that you do your skills, the way that you block the boss properly, then you should be able to pretty much deal with this boss as well. Ever since they changed it from Season 3 to this season, it's become a little bit easier to pretty much, you know, get to the point where you can speed farm it, because they removed the passive where the boss would always get that you know, damage reduction of like 80%, like, you know, lots of damage reduction every time it's hit a certain threshold. And by having that one removed, it definitely allows us to be able to, you know, do damage better on the boss, and also have, I think when that happened, the boss was also cleansing, so if you had certain debuffs, it would have been difficult to try and time it. But it's pretty straightforward, honestly. The way that this boss does the skills this season is pretty obvious, and it should be pretty easy to tackle and kill it just by daring and knowing the mechanics, right? Just knowing the mechanics and doing your skills at the right time. So you see that even though I'm not at the point where I farmed a ton of gear, like, you know, I don't have the maxed out affinity solvent, I don't have a 5-man team synergy, I still am able, you know, to do it pretty fast within 1 minute. I do have strong champions. You see that over here in this team, all my heroes are, you know, they're all legendary. It's a good one. But let's have a look exactly what the boss does, right? So first of all, let's start with the first hit. This one's the one usually has a ton of text, right? So we're gonna be here a while. So deals damage to the furthest enemy with a 100% chance of inflicting stun on them for 5 seconds. If the debuff is successfully inflicted, he gains a shield. The boss gains a shield for 10% max HP for 20 seconds. Otherwise, he receives necrotic damage and enters backfire, right? And backfire reduces the damage dealt and increases damage taken by 20%, okay? Also says deals necrotic damage to enemy with the highest attack. This damage ignores 30% of defense and their shield. This is when it does the second one. So the first one is pretty much the same, pretty straightforward. Whoever's going to be the furthest away is going to be the person that you will want to have high resist on, so that they will not be stunned. Obviously, there's still going to be a 3% chance that happens, but if it happens, it is what it is. But still, if you can have the highest resist on them, you should do that. For example, you saw that I'm personally using a Scion, so I would suggest you do the same. Just put the highest resist on somebody that is a healer in your team, because that means healers most of the time don't need accuracy or other stats, so you're just going to give them the resist and then survivability stats, since they're going to be the furthest, and whatever's going to boost their healing multiplier, right? If you need some enlightenment, give them that, but you prefer people that don't have healing scaling off of enlightenment. One of the best ones that I always tell to people to use actually in that position is going to be Hexandra, right? If you still want to go as free to play as possible, she's an amazing healer. She doesn't need, like, she could gain some attack and enlightenment for this heal, but you don't necessarily need that. So you can just give her the right resist and then give her survivability stats. Now when it comes to resist that it's recommended, it says 220. I'll go to 250. If you give them 250, it should be pretty easy to do that, and that's pretty straightforward. If you give a chest plate and a negative rune, if you have a legendary one, that's 240 resist. So that should pretty much cover your resistance to take care of that hit. Now the next one says switches for form, converts shield on him into HP, okay? So basically, if he does gain that shield from doing the stun over here, he's gonna convert that into HP, and you do not want that to happen. And at the same time, it gains attack up for 40% attack up. That's pretty powerful. Normally, in order to deal with this one, even though you saw that the way that I'm doing it is I just ignore it. I'm tanky enough, I can survive it. But the way that you do it, because there doesn't say anywhere that it cleanses, right? You can just pretty simply go over there and put a buff prohibition on there, right? Buff prohibition, there's quite a few people that do that, right? If we have a look in here, we have, let's not count Astion, okay? Because I don't know where the buff prohibition actually is. It's a bit of a quirky one, but let's look at everybody else. Victor is an amazing one to do that. Tamar, Repakas can do it, Liko, obviously Fira, Vorash. There's even this new rare Ilendra that does it on the ultimate. So basically anybody that does buff prohibition, just make sure they go before the 9-second mark, or if you don't have the initial one to be before 9 seconds, then you set it to be afterwards, which is basically gonna be, let's do some quick math in there, it would be 18, which is the full rotation, right? Plus 5 and then plus, let's say, 9, that's 32. So you'd put it before the 32 seconds, right? So the way that you can do it is you can put it at 31.8, right? That's what I would say, just 31.8, because that way, if you don't have anything that influences the ultimate energy of the boss, or you don't have any recharge speed penalty, if you do it at 31.8, then basically if you add to that another 6 plus another 4, that's 41.8. That still allows you to cover the defense up of the boss as well, right? So that would be the best way to actually do it. That's the second hit. Then the third one, let's see, this is the one where it deals, the other one deals damage to the enemy with the highest attack. This damage ignores 30% defense and their shield. So obviously this is going to go to your best DPS in the team. Most of the time, ye should survive, and that's not, that's not worrisome. And then the ultimate, this is where it becomes tricky. It's a sword form. When it switches from the sword form into the shield one, deals necrotic damage to all enemies with a 100% chance to dispel all buffs from them. Gains 1 stack of total damage bonus permanently for each dispel buff. Switches to shield form and gains defense up for 20 seconds, right? So this is the thing, how it happens. When the boss does that, you do not want to have too many buffs on yourself when the ultimate happens. So before 18 seconds, make sure you don't have any, don't have a ton of buffs on, because the boss is going to get so much more damage that if you don't kill it pretty fast, it's going to be problematic to deal with it, especially because once he swaps from this form into the shield form, the boss does the AoE damage, which you can see over here, right at the beginning. It's a lot, and that hurts us really bad. So if you have those extra buffs and then the boss does that ultimate, removing them, and gets more damage, it's just going to be really tricky for you to deal with it, and you don't want that. So it's pretty straightforward, right? Have high resist on the furthest person, have somebody that either removes buffs or has a buff prohibition to block the increased attack and increased defense, and then just get damage dealers in there. However, one thing I would emphasize, even though this one works for me really well, is try to get attack penalty as well, right? Just to be safe, right? We're talking about, let's say, the first time you do it. If you have attack penalty in there, then you should be able to deal with this boss pretty easily. They made it kind of, from my point of view, they made it pretty easy this time around. Let's check the passive as well. It says can switch between forms. Shield form, basic attack deals necrotic damage to all enemies, and 80% of the damage dealt into a shield, it's converted. So obviously you don't want it to gain a ton of shield, so by having attack penalty on it, it should help you. Then when it's in the sword form, basic attacks deal necrotic damage to current enemy. So whoever's gonna be in front of him. So this one's, like I said, this one's pretty straightforward. As an example, the way that I do it, for example, for my team is I use Finja's heal only after the boss does the ultimate, because Finja also brings a buff on her ultimate, the resistance up. I don't want the boss to remove that and gain damage, so I just made her initial to be 18.5 and then every 18 seconds. Obviously, she doesn't have the complete be 18 seconds, but you can play around with that just by, giving her more skill haste, right? Let's say you don't give a complete set, try to look for skill haste here, and basically everywhere where it can help you. But yeah, that's this boss, honestly, the Ancient Battlefield Season 4 is pretty straightforward. Get attack penalty, same thing, the furthest away, make sure they have resistance so they don't get stunned. Then have somebody that either blocks or removes buffs, and then damage in there, obviously, with a healer. And you should be pretty fine, right? The Ancient Battlefield should be pretty easy this season. I'm still surprised that this one's still not as difficult as the Grave of Wrath, right? That's the last one that I've not done a video on, but I might do it in the future when it becomes important. Right now, I don't believe Grave of Wrath is important in Season 4. But anyway, this is gonna be it for today, guys. Thank you all for watching. As always, if you do enjoy my content, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel to see when I upload next, and I'm gonna see you on the next one. Peace, love, take care, everyone. Bye, guys.